Alright, I'm back with the next DIY project, and that is to replace our kitchen countertops and install backsplash. Alright, just a quick disclaimer for this video because the project I did in our kitchen between backsplash, countertop, and sink installation, I'm just splitting this into two videos. This next video, which is kind of, I guess, part two of the kitchen renovation, will be the countertop and the sink installation. So in this video, you're going to see, as I'm putting in the countertop, some work being done on the backsplash that I'm not going to even be referencing, so it's kind of out of context, but that is in the first part of this video. So without further ado, here is the countertop and the sink installation part of the renovation. We never installed the backsplash because we tried painting the countertops and we wanted to find something that matched the countertop color. That didn't even last a year, even though I followed the instructions. It was a kit from Home Depot or online, I forget. There was a way to paint the countertops to make them look like marble, and it failed. So we're replacing the countertops now, factory laminate, but I'm going to loosen things up. So this is what we got here. This is what I painted. The original countertops were this green speckled color, and I did this paint kit, and I even put like 2 more coats of clear coat than what it called for to protect it greater. And it did say to go ahead and every year you would possibly have to recoat the clear coat to protect it, but it didn't even last a year and the paint started chipping. And of course it's all in your high use areas, so right next to the sink and across the front of the sink, and then over here, which is where we use cutting boards and things. So it's just not the option that it was cut out to be. So we are replacing the countertops completely. I did get the phone call that the countertops are ready, so I just have to call them back and schedule the delivery time, and then we can quick swap these out. So that's why I wanted to basically take today and loosen things up to prep, so it was much quicker for when the countertops get here. So I do have a new sink ordered too, so that's coming. It's supposed to be tomorrow, Monday delivery. As well as a new faucet. So what I already started to do was I pulled the dishwasher out, and there was one screw in the back corner here holding the countertop down, and that was it. There's nothing even holding across the front of this countertop. The sink is still connected, so obviously all that is going to keep this from lifting too high as well. But then the only other fasteners I found were 2 screws in this back corner, and literally that's it. They didn't really do a good job from, these original countertops from the contractors when they built the house. So they didn't really put a whole lot of fasteners, which is actually good for me right now. This is loose and ready to go. All right, we're back in the kitchen. Countertops came. I got a call today, and I had to run home from work to let them in. But there is the countertops waiting for install. So what I'm doing now is cleaning out under the sink. So that all fit in one box, luckily. And we did have a water leak a little while ago, so it's a little ruined under there. But I did order a 1-piece rubber mat. WeatherTech makes them, and they fit exactly in the size of the underneath your sink that you have. So that will be taken care of very soon. The next step I need to do to get the countertops done is take apart all this plumbing, garbage disposal, disconnect all that stuff so that we can remove the sink and countertop. Are you excited for the new countertops?
Yes.
And the sink? Did you know we got a new sink?
Yes.
Why did you see the box?
No, you kept mentioning it.
So I forgot to hit record to show the removal of the actual countertop, but there's a garbage disposal disconnected. I left the drain line for the dishwasher. That's connected. I just took apart the trap, and obviously the feed line's going to the faucet. So I'm going to cover that stuff when I go to cut the new countertop, the hole in for the sink. But this is what it looks like without counters. Oh look, silverware. So, pro tip, if you got to clean your cabinets, now's the time to do it. Are you going to clean the cabinets?
No.
Neither am I. We're gonna grab the new countertop. There was one screw still right there. Alright, the new countertop is almost in place. I had it in place, but there are some pretty tight spots from the top of the new countertop to the bottom edge of that backsplash. So I drew a line to trim now, because I didn't want to trim it while this countertop was in place, so I didn't get it scratched or anything. So I'm just trimming along there with a knife to give myself a little bit more of a gap for the trim work I'll be doing. All right, we just trimmed that, put this countertop into place fully. And I was just checking the trim here, so the trim's gonna go just like that. All right, I pulled that dishwasher out so I could secure this edge of the countertop, and I made sure that edge was straight there. And now I'm gonna come underneath here and just put a bracket in that back corner and this front corner. All right, as you can see, we're under the sink now. Most countertops, or cabinets I should say, have these corner brackets here, and that's what you screw through to anchor your countertop above. This one here is already broken, but I think there's enough meat there that I can get a screw in on an angle to grab into this part of the countertop. So I'll be able to get one in there. And you don't have to get too crazy anchoring the countertop. You just want to keep it from moving side to side. You just don't want it to move and shift. It's not like it's gonna fly up off of the cabinets just from normal use, but you do want to put anchors in where you can. All right, the last two anchors, there's one in this corner and one in that back corner underneath. So I had the drawer out, put them in, drawers back in, pots and pans back in, and this thing is secured. I did not get one in that back corner, but it's solid. Do you have to be so loud? Countertop is done. Time to open the sink. Alrighty, the sink unboxing. I'm assuming the cutout is the size of this cardboard, but we will read that later and find out for sure. But this sink has a bottom grate to keep the bottom of the sink from scratching and keep your dishes off the bottom. It has a roll-out covers half the sink, so you can put vegetables, whatever you need to wash, on there, and it doesn't have to sit in the sink. And then what else do we have? Oh, there's the drain assembly, a gasket, and can you open that box? What is it? A bar of soap? Oh, those are the sink clips. Let's get the foam out. I must say, this packaging is super, super ideal. There's foam everywhere, plus this fabric blue thing to protect it. And I will link below and go over all of the pricing for everything at the end of the video, but I am very impressed so far with this sink, and it did get good reviews. I'm super impressed with this. There's the beautiful sink. Nice, shiny, 10 inches deep. It's actually the same size as the old sink, but obviously it's deeper. So now we're going to read the instructions, make sure we're doing it properly, because you only get one cut in a brand new countertop. If you don't cut it correctly, it's a big boo-boo. Alright, my assumptions were correct. This cardboard here is the template for the cutout, so this is already taped down into place. The first cut's 2 inches from this edge. I laid the sink on top of this just to eyeball to make sure I had enough clearance back here and everything else, so everything looks good. I will outline this with a black permanent marker, and then I will double check things again with the sink once the cardboard's removed. Alright, that is traced. And now you remove that, and there's your outline left behind. I'm going to grab the sink, flip it upside down just to double check that the lips will overlap this, because that, you cannot make mistakes when you're cutting out sink holes. So I basically have the sink upside down now over top of where I traced, and you want to be very careful because you obviously don't want to scratch your new countertop surface, but you basically want to lift up carefully and eyeball the outlines and make sure that these tabs here that are for your clips to hold it down against the countertop clear those lines. So you line up one side and then check the other. And they have to be on the inside of your cut. Perfect. Alright, I caught my first mistake before I made a cut, but just to double check things before I made a cut is I checked up underneath the sink area here, and the countertop is made with a thicker framing to make the edges sturdy. And where my first line was to cut the sink hole would have cut into that thicker part, which actually overlaps the cabinet just a tiny bit. So I put a little screw through from the other side so I know exactly where the edge of that thick framing ends, and that's where my line will be. So I basically have to shift this whole template back a little bit. So always double check everything, check underneath before you make your cuts. So I relined everything, and now what I did was put the painter's tape right along the outside edge of my outline because you want to protect your new countertop. The inside edge is going to be cut out, so we don't care about that, but the outside edge, as you're running your saw along it, could scuff the finish. When I cut, I basically take a drill and drill some holes through. I put one in the center and then one in each corner. So I have a starting point with the jigsaw, and then if I need to take a break, I can just cut into the center and get smaller pieces cut out of it so it's not all one big slab falling down on top of the plumbing underneath. And you also want to cover everything underneath. So there's going to be a ton of sawdust underneath this cabinet. So I'll be putting this towel over that garbage disposal. Just vacuumed up some of the dust, and now we are going to test fit that sink into the cuts I just made. Perfecto! Sink sits flush. I'll pull that tape off, go underneath, and check things out, because we do have to make sure that the clips line up with enough edge to be able to mount those sink clips in. And that will then pull down things like this. I don't know if that's meant to be bent up like that a little bit or what. It was packaged very good. I'm assuming the sink clips will pull that down tight. Alright, we ran into one problem to solve here. So the clips that come with this sink look like this. I should say this. And you have to bend that tab down, so that puts some friction against the sidewall of the sink as it's pulling in tight, so it squeezes both sideways and pulling the sink down in place. So that's what one looks like bent. But across the front here there's two clips, and I only have a tiny little edge to grab onto there, and it wouldn't fit. The width of this would not fit in that gap, and this had nothing to grab onto really. So what I did was grab the clip from the old sink, and that does fit onto the tabs that are under the lip of this new sink, and then drilled holes in the edge that lined up with that clip. So basically clip those clips onto the tabs and then slide them into those holes, bringing the sink forward to mount them into place. Then the sink drops into place, and then you can go around and mount the rest of the clips that came with the sink. So sometimes you just gotta customize and make things work. But before we do that, I gotta put some sealant around this edge here. Alright, the next problem to solve was I got every single clip in around this sink. The back ones were pulled pretty dang tight, but when I came up to check things, these corners were still lifted on both sides here. So I went back underneath and tried tightening again, and it wouldn't pull them down. So I actually switched those clips out with the old style, and it actually got more bite to pull down, but I didn't want to break anything, so I stopped and then came back up, and they were still lifted. So I had to undo every single clip again. Luckily the sealant wasn't fully set yet. Pull the whole sink back out, take a rag and the wrench here, and bend these corners down So now I didn't even put any clips back in, but it is now flush to the corner, or flush to the counter. So once I put these clips in, it's going to snug everything up evenly. So if you get this sink, just check out of the box that this outer surface is true and these corners aren't raised at all. If so, bend them down before putting the sink in and putting the clips in. Got a little sawdust and sweat on my head. I just had a little dinner break, and now it is time for the faucet. This is another Amazon purchase, and it looks sweet. I forgot to record the process of putting the faucet together. So all the parts come in this nice packaging here. Looks like it's made in Germany because there's English and German. German products are pretty good, so I'm pleased to see that. But basically you connect your two feed lines up inside the faucet here, and then you put your nut, screw that up inside with the O-ring, and then feed that all down through the hole of your sink. And then there's a seal washer and a nut on the underside, and that's what I'm about to tighten up now. Alright, back under the sink. We got everything connected, feed lines, trap put back together. I did have to cut this extension piece here because with it being a 10-inch deep sink, everything is now lower. So I had to cut out a piece of this extension here to get that to line up. And the garbage disposal is tightened up and plugged in, so we're about ready to give this a shot. I have these valves on just to check for leaks, and there is none. So we're ready to run the faucet, check for drainage leaks. One issue I found back here is that cold just kisses the garbage disposal, so the vibration from that running is not going to be good on that valve. So I will have to cut that stem back to give that some space away from the garbage disposal, but I can do that very quickly after work anytime. Hit it. Oh my goodness, it's water.
Is it leaking down there?
So this faucet is kind of like a commercial kitchen sprayer and faucet. So it has a separate sprayer. You can keep the sprayer on like that, or let it turn off, and you can then, I can't do it one-handed, instead of having a weight system underneath your cabinet constantly rubbing on things underneath, this just has a spring action here. So your sprayer you can use in your sink anywhere you want, and then hook it back up like that. Just like that. Move it out of the way if you don't want to use it. Keep this in line here. So you can pick and choose what you want. I'm always about the options. That is a super shiny sink.
Well, it'll get dirty very quickly.
Let's see. I don't see any leaks. I'm gonna have to turn the flashlight on to truly give it a check. Put that rack in so that stays in to keep the dishes off the floor of the sink, and then this thing, what the heck, unrolls.
Let me help you.
I'm trying to do it one-handed. There we go. So that's there to cover half the sink, so you can put fruit or vegetables, whatever you want on here, even dishes, as like a quick drying rack. And that all comes with the sink. I think that's all the special features, but it's cool enough for me. And this just rolls up to put away when you're not using it. So that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. I got some trash to clean up. Actually, I got a lot of trash to clean up. And then we gotta get some dishes caught up and done. So, all in all, it was a decent project. I jammed here right after work, like getting this all done because Colleen and I are going away this weekend. And I want to try to at least button up the use of the sink here before we go away. And then next week, I will do this part of the countertop here and finish the backsplash. All right, that's going to wrap up our countertop and sink installation part of this project. The first video was our backsplash install, how to, and then the second part was our countertop and sink installation. So subscribe below and follow along for more home repair videos. And remember, time is everything, money is a tool, and you can't afford to waste either one. Until next time, last tag.